Okay, and welcome to this video. This one's going to be solving rational equations. Okay, that's what we're going to call them, solving rational equations. Okay, or rational exponents. Okay, now we're going to go back to what we were doing last time. If you remember, we had the square root of x is what we were solving. And in order to solve that, we squared both sides. And the reason we said that was because we said the way to write the square root is the 1/2 power. And then if I square it, because I have a power to a power, we multiply. And in this case, we're going to get 1. So we have x to the first, which is what we want when we solve our equations. So we're going to extend that just a little bit and talk about, well, what happens if I had it to the 2/3 power instead of the 1/2 power? So again, remember we said anything times its reciprocal is 1. So in this case, if I take 2/3 times its reciprocal, everything's going to cancel and I'm going to get 1. So when we have x to the 2/3, we take it to the 3/2 power, and then that will give me just x to the first. Okay, so that's the first thing that we have to remember. The second thing we have to remember is, okay, if I have a number, okay, so maybe I have 4 to the 3/2 power, and I need to simplify that, then what does that mean? So again, we know that it is power over root. So if I have 4 to the 3/2, the root is 2, so that means square root, and it's to the 3rd power. So the square root of 4 is 2, and then 2 cubed is 8. Okay, now the question is, do I need to write this out every time? No, not necessarily. Some of you know how to do it without writing that. But for today's lesson, I'm going to require you to write that out. Okay? So for today's lesson, I need to see the step that I highlighted. So here we go again. How about if I had 8 to the 2/3? So that would be the cube root of 8 squared. So the cube root of 8 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. Okay? How about if I had 16, let's say, to the 3/4? So that would mean the 4th root of 16 and cubed. Okay? So the 6th root of 4, the 4th root of 16 would be 2, and 2 cubed is 8. Okay? Now, next thing. Some of the ones that you're going to get to on the worksheet are going to get a little bit big in terms of numbers. So I'm going to show you 2 things in order to put them in your calculator. Now, some of you may already know that, and if you do, that's awesome. But there are, if you don't have a graphing calculator, if you have just a standard calculator, usually there is a button on there, and it may be written like that, or it might be the variables might be turned around. It might be X and Y. So if that's the case, it really depends upon what calculator you have. So I hate to say that it's going to be one way or the other, so you might have to have me show you. But typically, if it looks like this, what you're going to need to do is, if you're wanting to put in, let's say you're needing to put in the 4th root of 16, then normally what you would do is you would need to put in a 4, then you hit this button, and then you put in the 16. Okay, that's typically the way you would do it. Now, when you hit equals, then this is going to give you the 2, and then you would need to do the 2 cubed. Now, according again to what your calculator does, what you might want to use is that caret key, and that would put in 2 cubed. Now, some of you might know other ways that your calculator does it, but that would be typically the order in which you would need to do this. Okay? Now, if you have a graphing calculator, usually there is a math button. It says math on it. And it is the same way. You will have a key, and I think it has like an X here or an N here. I'm not really sure which way on there. And you're going to need to do exactly the same thing. You put your root in first, and then you hit that button, okay? And then you would put in your 16, okay? But I will help you put it in any of those that you need help. Now, let me also tell you, no, I'm not going to tell you that. We'll just leave that. You need to learn how to run your calculator, so I'll just leave it at that. So you need to make sure you're free to do these in your head, okay? But if you need help on how to do it in your calculator, please let me know, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and end this video just because I think it's got a little long. We haven't really got into working with the problems yet. So this will just be the first one as just a review of what we're going to do next. So we'll start a next one on actually solving problems. So we are solving worksheets that will be your assignment, and so you'll need to write down what I write down, show your work as I show it, and so forth. So we'll go ahead and get started in the next video.